does menopause have an impact in sex? And you've said yes.
Yes.
And if so, how? And what can men do to foster a healthy sexual relationship with their wives who are in menopause?
That is a brilliant question. And I've done a couple of workshops on that, on intimacy. Our career doesn't stop with our periods. I said, you all have either a daughter, a mother, a friend, a girlfriend, a colleague that will go through menopause.
The Risk Times Podcast.
Hey, Amelie, welcome to the show. It's wonderful to have you here. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. It's Friday, Shizabel. What is the best way to finish the week and with you? So yes,
Absolutely. It's wonderful to have you on the show. So welcome. I know we've been planning this for some time. The Risk Champs podcast is one of a kind podcast where I have people like you who are taking some incredible risks. So tell us a little bit about you. Let our listeners know who you are and what you do.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really thrilled, to be, your guest at your Risk Champs podcast. So my name is Amélie Prot, and I'm a menopause specialist, or you can call it activist. I'm also a certified health and nutrition coach, and my work involve of supporting or debunking menopause myth that for women our career stop with our periods. And for me, that risk was taken with the encounter of one person, one human being, one woman, professional woman, who came to my practice because she was experiencing some health challenges, and very quickly I discover, one, you're not crazy. And two, I found out what's going on. You are experiencing perimenopause symptoms. And that was, for me, a real, change in my practice and in my business. And I decided, to really support organization and support professional women who work so hard to be where they are, and then have to give up what they love doing because of menopause and the symptoms that they might be experiencing and impacting them. So that was my risk, and it's been a couple of years now, nearly 4 years, and I tell you, I don't look back. I look definitely forward every day, in this mission of mine.
Thank you for sharing that. A lot of people might be wondering, what has menopause got to do with risk? And it has got everything to do with risk, because it affects people every day in their lives, both personally and professionally. But before we go deeper into this, can you tell us, what is menopause?
Okay, that's a really good question. So menopause, it's a time of a woman's life, one of the transition that is going to happen to all of us. By the way, all women, we are going to experiencing menopause, and from a clinical definition, is one day event. When we have no menstrual cycle, and that will happen after 12 consecutive months without having a period. So it's really the anniversary of no period for 12 consecutive months, and after this anniversary we are on post-menopause. So which means that after this day we won't be able to have children. So this is really, really important. So this is a time where we will not have any more our period.
Wow. Now, there's a lot of significance to this, because I remember when we had our pre-chat, you talked about some of the statistics and the impact it's having on women, not just professionally, but in daily lives. Can you share some of that with us? What is it that we need to know as men, as employers, to be able to accommodate women in menopause stage?
So, like you said, menopause for certain individuals, for certain women, will have an impact on their life, but because of the symptoms they are experiencing. But I think it's important to recognize the fact that not all women will have severe symptoms. So about 20% of women will experience menopause, but a little bit like a walk in the park. They will not just like, oh, here we go, I'm in menopause. But, around 60% of women will have, a moderate, symptoms, and 20% of women will have severe symptoms. And those symptoms can affect, their way of life. Because those symptoms, we're now recognizing over 60 different type of symptoms, and that can go from physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, cognitive symptoms, that can have a real impact, on their personal life, but also on their work life. And this, and obviously create an impact for the employers, because, individuals, women might, go off sick without, being comfortable telling the employer what's going on. And we've seen that we're losing 40 million of working days per year. So there is an impact on the employment. But then it's not just that, it's also the fact that women will also, 1 in 10 women, research show that 1 in 10 women will also leave their work. So that creates financial impact on the family, because if we think that our retirement is 68, we are very much at 51 when menopause happen. On average, in the UK, we still have a couple of years, to be working. So I guess, yes, it has a quite of a significant impact, but also it has an impact on the relationship, because when we don't understand what's going on, we can see our body is changing. And then our partner, they don't know how to help us. So we see quite a significant impact, in this midlife, phase. And we see either women, also the number of divorce, the highest number of divorce happen in this stage of life. We see
Wow.
that. And it's the women who make the decision. So we saw that in the statistic as well. So
Why is that?
I don't know. That's a really good question. But from the statistic, we saw that, because they probably, from the experience that I have with some of my clients, they are experiencing, they don't know how to deal with, they have enough, they lost. And unfortunately, they don't know how to deal with this. So, sometimes they need, have a fresh air and start again. Or they don't really know how to resolve things, that they don't know how to pinpoint what it is, what's going on.
Okay, so let's spend a little bit of time on that.
There we go.
That is interesting. I've never heard that before. That a lot of the divorce in women, it's usually in women who are in the menopause phase, and they initiate that divorce.
Yeah, let's see that as a report.
So, are you saying that they are not aware that the symptoms they're experiencing that may be causing some of the emotional or difficulties or challenges that's affecting their relationship is something that they're not aware of?
Yeah, because if you think about with menopause, there is difficulties on communication. Communicating that things are changing for you. There is a lot of time, a loss of identity. There is a lot of shame around it as well. We're not the person that we used to be. Our body is changing. There is a body image as well that is impacted. We can't, put on weight. We don't feel sexy anymore. Our intimacy is impacted. Our libido is not out of the roof. It's completely down. You're literally like, where is it? I don't know. Have you heard that before? I'm not sure. And that is due to the fluctuation of our hormones. So if you package the whole thing, your libido is non-existent. You are suffering, also with some individual can suffer from anxiety, severe, like stress, panic attack. They feel like they don't know themselves. They feel like they age in one day. And also is a time of their life where they are, the children, if they have family, the children are still at home. They're probably caring for their older parents. They are the peak of their career. And at the same time, they need to make sure that, the partner is happy. And, all of this is going on with them. So sometimes it feels a little bit overwhelming.
Wow. Okay, I want to circle back to the libido side of things. I have a question that I wrote down, and I wanted to ask you this
Let's
question.
tell me.
So, and the question, I'm just going to read it out how I wrote it. I said, does menopause have an impact in sex? And you've said yes.
Yes.
And if so, how? And what can men do to foster a healthy sexual relationship with their wives who are in menopause?
That is a brilliant question. And I've done a couple of workshops on that, on intimacy around menopause, because it's something that you feel you lose, your identity, you're losing your femininity, but also it has an impact on that relationship. And yes, our libido, if we're losing our testosterone, and this starts, in our mid 40s, and it's like we lose 50%, it decline by 50%, this hormone, and we associate testosterone usually with men, because this is one of your main hormone, but we have also a small quantity, and it helps us with our confidence and our libido. So when you think from your perspective, what can I help my partner in this, it's a lot about patience, is about being there, not having no judgment, so having a very open communication, that it feels okay for your partner to share with you what's going on. And it's about, so there is a lot of communication skills, asking open questions. How can I help you? I understand. Tell me I can see that, you didn't have a great day. How was your day? Tell me, how can I help you? And not just, oh, shall I cook dinner? But what do you think we should have? It's more putting things in place that, you're supporting, your partner. But they also, or your wife, they also, the opportunities meant to educate themselves about understanding what is this phase. Because I tell you, a lot of time, women, they don't know what's going on themselves. So for men, you are part of the solution, and it's something that I'm absolutely passionate about. And in the work that I do in organization, I deliver training on menopause just for men. Be really to equipping them with the knowledge, what is menopause, what is the symptoms, how do they impact, your colleague, your female colleague, or your wife at home, or your partner, and then how can you support them. And it's a lot about, you don't need to fix anything. You're not here to fix. You're here, to be present and ask, how can I help you? And to have, this patience, with them, and understanding that they are going a transition. And then maybe, educating yourself, but also maybe helping them going through this transition that, they're experiencing. And that can be, for example, Isabel, sorry, I'm making a long answer.
That's okay, no, that's fine, go on.
Helping them going through the GP appointment. You know how difficult it is to go to a GP appointment, because, you tell them, I don't know, there is something going on with me, I'm not sure. No, you're not menopausal, forget it. I had a client, she went 8 times to see the GP until, someone said, okay, I think, yes, you're probably on perimenopause. So,
8 times?
Yes, so it can feel, and then you might feel quite overwhelmed, the questions. So this is something that, for example, a partner, you can help, your wife navigating that, because you might see things that the person himself not seeing. So this is, for example, I always recommend, my client, to track, the symptoms. So they have like this manual tracker that I put for them, it's free, and they can really look at what is all the symptoms, because when you think about over 60 symptoms, there's a lot of things. And I'm telling you, with all the training that I do, every single time I've got women telling me, oh my God, Amelie, I didn't realize that. Now I know, one, I'm not crazy. And you have symptoms on a cognitive aspects of things that women will think they've got Alzheimer, they've got dementia. I had a woman said, Amelie, I thought I was dying. I had another one said, Amelie, I think I have Alzheimer. And I've been recently You can stop me, by the way, Gisela.
No, please. These are important. These are important points you're making, and
So yes,
it's
so
interesting. A lot of
really
people
important,
don't know this.
but the Alzheimer is one of the things really important. I was talking to the CEO of this app called Five Lives, and he was telling me it's an application who helps with the diagnosis of Alzheimer and support on terms of maintaining the cognitive health. And he said 80% of his user are women because they think they are given Alzheimer, but what the result is, a lot of time they are perimenopausal.
It's interesting. So you've mentioned that term perimenopause a
Perimenopause,
few times. I'm guessing these are the stages in menopause.
yeah.
Is that correct?
I should explain
What
that
are
to
the
you.
stages that women need to start to take note of?
Yes.
Actually,
Ah.
maybe the stages, but what about at what age the woman start to be
Very good.
concerned
Yes.
about menopause?
Yes. So we said earlier, I said earlier that menopause is this one day, and is a one day event, and on average in the UK is 51 years old. A woman will transition into menopause, but that can happen from 45 to 55. So the time, the leading time to menopause is the perimenopause, and this can happen 10 years before, 4 years before. So on average, we start experiencing perimenopause symptom at 45, but it can start much earlier. We know that you can have early menopause around 40s, but also you have another condition, and we had that conversation before in our when we had some chat. You have also the POI, which is a condition, premature ovarian insufficiency, and this can happen in about 1% of women under 40, 1 in 1,000 under 30, and 1 in 10,000 under 20. And that is
Wait,
when...
hold on. Wait. That is some staggering number you mentioned in there in terms of the ages. What is POI again?
So this is premature
For our listeners to understand a
ovarian...
bit more.
So premature ovarian insufficiency is where your ovaries are unable to produce estrogen or progesterone. And what happened then, the menopause happens, because you can't produce those two key hormones. So then the individual will go into menopause. So it can happen much earlier. And from the statistic, we know that, is about 1% under 40, 1 in 1,000 under 30, and 1 in 10,000 under 20. So this is
under 20.
Yeah, because as soon as you got a period, here we go.
Wow.
So this is one way to arrive in menopause. So what we call it the natural menopause, that is part of an early natural menopause. And then you can arrive in menopause as well if you had, surgically, if you had hysterectomy, or if you have an induced menopause, which is due to treatment who suppress the estrogen, like radiotherapy, chemotherapy. So you can see that we can arrive in menopause in so many different ways. It's not just, the natural way. There is sometimes we are pushed into menopause due to health condition. And I think this is for me a very important information that I share in my training, with the organization, with the companies, because if they have individuals who have gone through cancer treatment, for various, obviously who have an impact on the ovaries, they will probably be also navigating menopause. So when they come back to the workplace, we need to acknowledge that and, be able to support them in this transition as well.
Whilst you were saying that, I was just thinking about some of the clients I've worked with, and the average population of women, say for example, some of the investment banks I've worked with, probably about 45 or so percent or 30% of women who work for these organizations are women. And out of that 40 or 45% or maybe 50%, let's say I'll probably say about nearly 40 to 50% of them are probably going to be in their 30s upwards. So that's a large percentage of women that could be experiencing some of these challenges. And the sad thing is that most employers are not educated to be able to cater to the needs or well-being of these women who work for them, what role does HR, the human resources department, play in this?
I think
Or do they do anything? Are they aware of these challenges and are they accommodating their staff who are going through these challenges to do with menopause?
so. Menopause is. I think there is no doubt that menopause is now part of the well-being agenda. But like everything, like back in the days, mental health was not. Now is part definitely.
Nowadays, yes.
Yeah, now is part of the agenda. So menopause in certain organization it is, but not in all organization. Yeah. So I guess for me, HR has definitely a key role, to play in putting menopause in the well-being agenda, and supporting, the company to thrive, and supporting the employee to one, empower them to manage, to navigate that phase and still working and do what they love doing, but also supporting the colleagues, the managers, the leaders on how to have those supportive conversations. We're not saying that by putting menopause on the well-being agenda that now the leaders and the managers are going to be prescribing and oh my god you should be taking HRT. It's not what we're saying, but having the education help them to like, wow, I understand now. I might understand now maybe some changing you might experiencing, and maybe appreciate that the person is still have still the skill set, but it needs extra support because of the symptoms that the person might be navigating, and you keep your talent, because otherwise you will lose the talent, because a lot of women who experiencing menopause symptoms, 45% of women who are experiencing menopause said it has a negative impact in their work. So at the end they tend either to go off sick or underperforming, their productivity starts declining because they have difficulties managing it.
And this ultimately affects the organization.
Yeah, because you lose your talent, and then we know
and
that
a lot of the most experienced talent.
Yeah, and we know that it costs £30,000, to recruit a new person. And then what about all of this expertise that you are losing? So there is definitely an opportunity for organization to invest in our talent, our female talent. When we look at research, that we know that the population over 50 is the fastest growing demographic in the workplace. Yes, because we are now the retirement is at 68. We have much more women in the workplace. We need to work longer, so we are taking more space. So we have a real interest, and the population is aging as well. So we have an opportunity to keep this talent. So
and that age group, that's where the experience lies, and they have to transfer that knowledge to the younger generation. And if they're not there, then how does a company or organization survive? And this has a knock-on impact on the economy.
Exactly. And you've got so when we think about 50, it's not, it's go back to this ageism in the workplace. Are we still, useful? Can I still have a space? Am I still relevant? So imagine, and I'm sure men experiencing also can experience the same thing. Not at 50, probably a little bit later than that. But there is a real, I think, point here, to look at how can we support and continue develop our aging population in the workplace. Now it's a bit of a different topic, but I think for me it's linked with menopause. And see how can I had conversation with female professionals who are more around 55, and they said, Amelie, I'm not even considered anymore for a promotion. I know that. I'm not even invested in my development. I've not been invited. I talked to someone recently, said I've not been invited to a training for the last 6 years
because of their age.
But then again, what I would say to women, I said, what? If you want to change things, you need, to change things from yourself. You need, to be proactive and just ask for it, So I always say that, don't wait for things to happen to you. You need, to be proactive. And, it's the same thing, it's recognition. I was doing a coaching session, earlier, and I said, recognition start with yourself. Don't wait for someone to tell you it's a good job. If you've done a good job. So say thank you to yourself. Yes, and I've done so. Anyway.
It's interesting you just touched on that, because one of the questions I was going to ask was, are there opportunities for women who are in the menopause stage?
Completely.
Can you expand a bit on that?
Completely. I did a talk a couple of weeks ago about this, changing the narrative of menopause. And, like I was saying at the beginning, our career doesn't stop with our periods. We have such a great opportunity, and I want to live this way. For me, it's obviously we need to want to manage it. So when we have put the strategy to manage our menopause, and there is very different way, to do that, we need to look at this as a new chapter, and all of the life experience, the skills that we have developed through our life are going to be so relevant, in our midlife, in our post-menopause. And this is what I'm always, invite, female leaders, because I support female leaders navigating this. It's like what, all the challenges that you have experienced in your life. Life is like this, is mostly challenges, and we have a couple of time we have rainbows. But a lot of time, we are transitioning in life with so many challenges, and what's happening, we overcome them, and we are getting stronger. Menopause is another challenge that we have the skills in us, to manage. We are resilient, we are able, and that goes back to the mindset, and I know you're big on that, we are definitely agree.
Absolutely.
That relates to our growth mindset. So already if we have this growth mindset, we can see, how are we going to take this challenge? What is the things I'm going to put in place? How things can help me? Who I need to talk to? So you start, managing symptom and regaining that control. The same way you will managing, a project at work. It's the same thing. The difference, the project is yourself.
Yeah. At this point, I just want to say something, and I want to direct it to all the men out there, all the men who are listening. You guys, all the men, you need to understand and know what menopause is, because one day you are going to be in a relationship with a woman, and she's going to go through this period. You need to understand what she's going through so you can support your woman, your wife. Guys, get on board with this. It's a reality of life that we cannot escape.
Yeah.
And I'm also talking to the men who are CEOs of companies. You guys need to be able to accommodate this so that we can have a better, healthy working environment for everyone. Yeah. Amelie, go ahead, please.
Isabel, I think you're totally right. I love your message. I love your passion. And I think it's also, I always say to the men in the room, I said, you all have either a daughter, a mother, a friend, a girlfriend, a colleague that will go through menopause. So I think we have, and so you have a role to play, and we want, I tell you, we want you part of this journey. Because I always say that, to women as well, to bring your partner with it. Don't leave him on the side road. Because he's been there, when you started your relationship, something, I don't know, there is a reason you are together. So,
absolutely.
And that's why, not leave him on the side. So I tell you, my husband knows everything about menopause from, like A to Z. But
you've educated him.
But you know what? It's at the beginning it was like, oh my God.
Yes.
But now it's like when we see friends or we, like, I don't know, we meet new people in certain, you can see now he's able to talk about menopause and he's passionate about it. And
it's actually an opportunity for couples as well to develop their relationship to be stronger when they are on this journey together.
Yeah. And I guess, in our relationship, we have, this wave, where, you cannot, I hope you agree, but for me, when you start with someone in your journey, we will change. There are things because of things that we want in life. And we can make the decision, do I want, to be evolving with that person?
Absolutely.
And for me, I want. So it's like, how can we help? And so I think there is definitely an opportunity. And I think for women, to go back to that original question is to change the narrative and see themselves as sponsors, as champion. You talk about risk champ. It's exactly
Yes.
that. Take the risk to share your story. How hard
Absolutely.
is it? It goes back to when we think about our female leaders, the vulnerability, the authenticity. I was doing a workshop on authenticity leadership around this, and I bring this together because this is who you are. And if you can share that story, not showing this perfect image, you will help another person to raise their hands and say, I am struggling. And I think sometimes we want to show this perfect glossy image, perfection, and we need to maintain that also through menopause. No,
I think that's the social media age.
And I think that is go back to that authenticity. We need to lead with authenticity our life, and I think that is probably one thing that will help navigating, recognizing I'm not doing well.
Yes. So what are some of the things that can be done? I know you're not going. We can't cover it all today, but what are a few things that women can do to help themselves when they start to go through this period? You mentioned HRT earlier. What is HRT, and is it something that women should be taking?
I'm going to explain to you what is HRT, but very important. We're not here to prescribe, but there is different way to manage menopause. So menopause, number one remedy is do not stay silent. For any woman and men who are listening today, and if you know someone who is experiencing, don't stay silent. Don't feel like you need to deal with this on your own, especially if you're not coping. So this is number one thing. Break the silence, ring the bell, and say to anybody that you feel, even if is a cashier at your Tesco, and say like, what, I'm not doing well. You need to say it. You need to be that. So break the silence is number one, because as soon as you break the silence, then you can use tools. Then you can see, okay, what is my strategies? What can help me? So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is to track your symptoms, understanding what your body is dealing with. Our body is really well wired. It's an incredible computer, it's an amazing machine. And it's experiencing those changes, and it's giving us clues. But we need to listen to him. And this is we tend not to listen. So we need to go back inwards and see what's going on. I can see some changes. What are those changes? So tracking those changes is important. Tracking your menstrual cycle. Is it, because this is one of the first signs, is it shorter? Is it longer? Heavy bleeding? Light bleeding? Pain? What is that? Tracking that on a monthly basis.
That's important.
Very important. Then tracking what is the changes are you experiencing. I've got pain in my joints. Interesting. I don't know. I feel a bit more anxious. I never felt that before. I feel like, I've got brain fog. I don't recognize. I've got vaginal dryness. Let's talk about that. All of this. It feels painful when now we're having intercourse. Any symptoms. What is the benefit? One, you're starting understanding what's going on. Then it's helping you building facts, tangible information. Then you can bring to your GP. You can bring to your doctor. You can say, okay, here we go. For the last 3 months, I've seen some changes, and this is what I've seen. My cycle is different. You bring, and that will be so helpful for the doctor, because then they have tangible information, and then they can try, to help you. Then discussing the right solutions. The solution can be HRT, hormonal replacement therapy. So it's helping replacing some of the hormones that are on decline, like estrogen, progesterone, and maybe testosterone, mainly estrogen, progesterone. And again, HRT, you got 60 different type of HRT. It can be taken orally, it can be taken on the skin, patches, you name it. But most important is every woman women, every individual, have a unique body. Your body is different, my body is different, my body will be different to my friend, to my neighbors, anybody. So it's very important, to have those conversations, with your doctor, because then the solution will be unique to you, will be unique, to your health history. Some individual might not be able to take HRT due to their conditions. So that's why it's very important that not to think, oh, here we go, that's going to be the solution. It might be. But then you have also the holistic way that you can help your body. And that's a great combination. So for me, I work, with my clients, and I have clients who take HRT, I've got clients who don't take HRT, who cannot take HRT. And we work from an holistic point of view. So we work to put balance, to recreate balance, osmosis, in our body. And that starts by managing our stressors. Stress is one of the biggest disruptor of our hormones. You got those cortisol level, so this is, that is an important one. I help as well. Also, we need to look at how we eat. What you eat. How do you digest? How do you excrete, your detoxification? Are you going to the loo? Constipated, diarrhea, all of this. So really
is that something that should be monitored?
Yes, because if for example you are not, you're constipated, you're accumulating toxin, which then impact your gut, which then, as we know, we've got a brain axis from the gut, to the brain. So that will impact as well what's going on here. How you feeling? So we know that, having a nutritious, diet help
yes.
our brain, our mental health. So the more we feed our gut with not healthy junk food that is, full of, processed food will not help.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm against junk food because I think that has a very detrimental impact on our health, and particularly for women as well. But are there any specific food or diet that helps women, maintain or have that balance in their hormones or in their bodies?
Completely. So, one of for me, I call it, the rainbow diet, but, it's like the variety of food is really important, and a lot of, when we think about plants, but is, looking at some healthy proteins, when we think at the time where we're navigating perimenopause and menopause, because we're losing our estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, it impacts, also our muscle density. So it's very important that we feed our body with a healthy protein. It can be plant-based, it can be healthy animal proteins, fish, all of that. But then also healthy fat. And it's not because, we're putting on weight that we need, to remove the fat. It's the opposite. Our brain needs healthy fat. Avocado, for example, seeds, nuts, extra virgin olive oil. This is like, stop buying expensive cream and buy extra virgin olive oil. We know that is absolutely seriously. That is really
I like
important.
that. Stop buying expensive cream.
Or the next dress, buy some extra virgin olive oil. And so having
that's a good message there. That's a good.
Seriously.
You're right about that actually.
You see all of this advert, and
Yes.
and then some fibers are very important. To get plenty of fruit and vegetables. So all of that, having this Mediterranean diet. So, if you heard about it, but this is what they eat. They eat a lot of fruit, vegetable, they eat a lot of pulses, grains, you name it. And that helps, your body. So for me, this is a real caveat. But, so when you look at your plate, so you're like, okay, so how do we do that is when you look at your plate, is it very beige-y color? If it's beige color, something is wrong. So have you got a rainbow in your plate, full of colors?
Yes.
And I always say the number one color, that you need to fall in love. This one, green. You can see my plant.
Green.
Green is the new color. Full of vegetable,
Yes.
raw, cook. But it's true, and I think it's so. This is really important. So yes, what you nourish, your body will have an impact. But, Gisbert, it's not just that. Because you can have someone, drinking, green juice every day, but doesn't sleep well, is super stressed, not happy at home, not happy in their work, they don't exercise, they're sitting down all day. So it's a combination of things. But it's looking at your sleep, protecting this time where your brain can process your memory, can recuperate, and then exercising, going out, walking. It doesn't need, to be walking, like, going on a tangent, like working out, like running a marathon every day. It's not that, but is having your body moving. And for women, we need, to change a little bit on the type of exercise, because maybe in our 20s, 30s was the cardio, and I was one of them, but then I switch, and now I'm doing a combination of strengthening. So I do more to build muscle, to protect my bone, because the other disease, sorry if it can feel very depressing,
no,
but
no,
the
please
other
go ahead.
disease that happen, that can happen, after menopause is cardiovascular disease. This is the one killer, by the way, for women. It's not cancer, it's cardiovascular disease. It's, osteoporosis. So we really need, to protect our heart, and so moving, looking after ourselves. And that is probably one of the things when, I do my talk, for women, in terms of changing the narrative of menopause. This is the time of our life that self-care is a very important thing. But I'm not talking about taking a bubble bath, every 6 months or every 3 years. Self-care is about maybe putting boundaries, saying no to things.
Explain that, the putting of boundaries. What does that mean?
So, because it's a time of our life, women, we tend, to put ourselves first, ourselves second. No, it's the opposite. We're not putting ourselves first. It's everybody first. It's our children, it's our colleague, his work, it's our friends. And then if there is a bit of leftover, if I have a little bit of time, maybe I would think about myself.
It should be the other way around.
It's the other way around this time, but without feeling the guilt that, because this is what I'm hearing with my clients. A lot of them, they're like, but Amélie, I feel like I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad wife, I'm a bad colleague, and I'm like, yeah, but think about, when you go to an airplane and the air hostess is doing something in the explanation of security, is saying what? That to put your
Mask on first
before you put it on your kids. Why? Because if you don't have it first, and if you don't have oxygen, how are you supposed to help your kid?
You've just reminded me of something. There was a quote I heard some time ago. I can't remember who said that you have to give to yourself first before you can give to others. And that kind of makes sense. It does make sense, not kind of. It does make sense, because if you don't give yourself enough to keep yourself going, how can you help anyone else, whether it's your husband or your family, your children?
Exactly. And again, it's not just because sometimes, for some women, especially, women who are super active, mothers, and it doesn't need to be just professional, but they are here for everyone. When you told them about self-care, they're going to be like, no, me, I give everything, self-care, no, I'm not selfish. There is also
a difference. There's a big difference between self-care and selfish, yes.
And then you will see among their friends, they nourish this narrative. Yeah, I'm not selfish. If one of them is saying, oh yes, you know what, yesterday, you know what, I took a long bath, or, I say no to things, I was supposed to do this, and I say, no, I don't have the energy. They will give her like, a little bit the bad eyes. So even if we want sometimes ourselves, we are nourishing this narrative of self-care is selfish. So this is one thing, and that goes back to, as I was mentioning, it's not just the bubble bath, it's about boundaries, deciding what is really important for me right now, what is my priorities, what is the things that I need to let go, or I need to maybe not putting this again on some of my to-do list. So it's challenging what is the things that are not really that important, and why am I doing things, for who, what is the impact. So it's really reviewing the things that we do, and what is the importance of it. What do I need? So I always said, self-care is about doing less.
As you were just saying all that, I was just thinking about a lot of women who are in top positions in organizations, who are running businesses, conglomerates and multinational organizations as CEOs and all that. These are things that obviously people don't see they don't see this aspect of that woman. All they see is a woman at the top, but not knowing that all these physiological and physical changes that are going through is something that they have to carry along with running an organization or a business. So kudos to everyone who obviously is taking care of themselves, knowing that they've got so much to deal with. Because it's certainly not easy to going through all the. I don't know what it's like. I'm not a woman. I can't experience this. I will not experience this. So to be able to, go through these changes and still perform, it deserves praise. It deserves praise and should be supported.
Well, it is, and I think they have to maintain, and I think is maintaining that level, and then carry on being there at home, for everyone. Be there, to be the supportive friend, supportive partner, supportive daughter. It's a lot, women carry a lot of roles, a lot of hats. And sometimes, the role that is missing, the role of themselves, is ourselves,
Yes.
Who is here for, to support me, to help them transitioning to that. And I guess,
absolutely.
But they need to. And I think that's why, it's about accepting the help. And it's about, sharing. And I see some of my clients, some of the things we do at the beginning is like, shall we maybe put in place a conversation with your family, with your children? Because if we can educate the children, then they will be able to be better supporter and understand what's going through. I had some women saying, oh my God, they said, oh, mommy, you're always tired now, you don't play with me as much. So you can see the guilt. Oh my God, I'm not here for you. So there is a little bit of an intervention, like explaining why things are happening. I think is, when we don't know, when people they start making things up and, feeling a little bit like unloved, or, what I mean? It's like,
yes,
the not knowing create like the biggest scenario, and sometimes it's not as much. So I guess this is great.
Amelie, you have your work cut out for you, because there is so much you are going to do in this space. From supporting, the women that you support in the various forums you do, and also helping employ companies, organizations, understand their role on this subject of menopause, because of the large population of women that work with them or support the growth of that organization, because without women most companies will not function. And that's a fact.
We will have some missing people. There will be
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I love working with women. I love being around women, because it creates that variety, in the workplace.
But like 40% of the population, in a workplace setting are women. So we take quite a certain amount of space. And like we discussed, is also impacting the family, the partners. So that also impact them and their work as well. So
I certainly will be more observant, when I'm around women, whether in the workplace, just to be able to. I'm not saying I'm going to be going around just checking.
No, don't do that. That's not.
I'm not going to be doing that. No.
Like, how are you? How are you doing?
Yes, exactly. Things like that.
How are you doing?
So please, man, don't do that. Don't just go around checking. Oh, have you got menopause? Don't do that.
Podcast, yes, and I think you've got menopause. Like, how are you? How have you been today? Oh, I can see you've been tired lately. How long have you been like that? Asking open questions. We should
be a bit more
everybody
caring
on open question and active listening, Shizabel.
Absolutely.
That's the two skills, by the way, that I'm teaching people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amelie, I know you've got to go. Before we wrap up, please, I just want to, thank you for coming on the show. It's really a pleasure to have you, and this is an important topic, and I hope by this time everyone listening would understand the relationship between menopause and risk, because as humans, we are the risk, and how we manage ourselves determine the outcome we get in relation to whatever it is we want to achieve in life. So thank you so much for sharing this. This is very, very important. Just before we wrap up, I wanted to share one last final message, and do that. Look at the camera and talk to the woman.
I know you like that.
Please,
I'm not
I
doing it
do.
in French. I'm telling you, just.
Oh no! I'm going to hold you to that. You're going to do it in French as well. Yes, you will.
No,
Yes, you will. Okay,
terrible.
you go ahead. And then a short message in French.
Oh, no.
Francais.
No. By the way, now I'm fully British. I have my citizenship, Isabel. I'm not fully British.
Yes, I saw that. Well done.
Okay. So what's the
Okay,
message?
please, yes. Just a final message to everyone listening out there,
Okay.
both men and women,
Okay.
especially the women,
Okay,
to help them
this
see that
message-
this is a very important message.
Thank you very much, Isabel. I'm talking over you. Sorry, I'm terrible.
Sorry,
not
that's
very
okay. Go
active
ahead.
listening here. Bad communication skills. Okay, so this message is for you, women, professional, at home. I want to really encourage you that if you feel something is different with you, to speak up. Don't stay silent and reach out. Speak to your partner, speak even to your kids, speak to your friends, but don't stay silent because you deserve to be heard. You deserve, to be supported. You are supporting every single one person around you. And at this time of your life, you deserve to be supported. And you know what? Don't feel selfish or guilty. You deserve it. So I really encourage you to embrace that phase, looking at that as an opportunity, a renewal, a new identity. What is the things that are possible, are opportunities, and that will help you to put a plan together. There is solutions, and you have gone through before. If you look back, turn your head, and look at the journey that you have lived so far, and I'm sure you can pick up one thing that has been a challenge and you have overcome it. Look back at this. What have you done to overcome it? Use the same skills that you use to overcome, menopause. Menopause is not the end of your career, is not the end of your life. It's just the beginning. And I wish you an incredible, journey. And if you need help, I'm here. But start looking after yourself. You are important as anybody else. So this is my message to you. I cannot do in French because
amazing. No,
this is not a repeated.
Amazing. That's amazing. We'll do a French podcast next time. So, what are some of the tools or support that you offer that people can reach out to you for, please, and where can they get that information?
So you can find me on ameliewellness.com, and there you can find my 3 menopause step guide, where I give you plenty of tools. One, you got your menopause symptom tracker. You've got your 3-step guide helping you preparing for your menopause GP appointment, and giving you some reflection. So my background is in coaching as well as nutrition, but I use all those coaching to help you reflecting and bring that self-awareness and taking you control of your menopause. So this 3-step guide, which is free, you can find it on my website, and we will put it also maybe on in the notes if that
yes, absolutely, please, yes, absolutely.
And I help, and you can book a free consultation where we can discuss how I could support you navigating this. And if you are an organization, or if you,
I was going to say that, yes, go ahead.
And then if you are working for an organization and you think that will be helpful for your organization, to have a training on menopause awareness, or training for your leaders, for your managers, also a training for men, you know where to find me, ameliewellness.com, and I deliver those sessions, for organizations. So if you want, to break down, the stigma and the silence around menopause and change the narrative, just contact me, and I will be delighted, to support your organization wherever they are, in the journey. No judgment. We need to start somewhere. So here we go, and I'm ready for the ride.
Amazing. Thank you. And I'm going to share this far and wide. So amazing. So thank you so much for that. And one final question before we wrap up, and it's one I usually do, with every guest I have on the show. And it's called the risk taker personality type questions. Yes. So there are 5 risk personality types.
Where are they? Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you which one you are. So there are 5 of them.
Tell me.
So there's active risk taker. Mm-hmm. So the active risk taker, you're not afraid to take risks. There's the passive risk taker. You're afraid of taking risk, so you only take measured, very little risk and stay in your comfort zone. And then you have the hybrid risk taker. They somewhat kind of flow between between the active and the passive. And then there's the material risk taker. Oh, they only take high net worth risk. And then you have finally the dynamic risk taker. It's the master of all. Which one are you?
Tell me again the fourth one. What is the fourth?
The first one is the active risk taker. You're not afraid to take risk.
I think, you know what? I think it's probably...
I think I know which one you are.
I think it's probably this one. I don't know what you think, but I think I'm probably the active risk. I think
you are the active because you've taken on this risk, in going into a place that most people don't dare.
Yes,
and you're doing it.
Yeah, and I think I've taken risk. For me of going, from having a corporate, work and building my own business and changing gear and
yes.
and I think also I think risk is also risk in your personal life and the decision that you make and I think yes is yeah, so I definitely probably sometimes I wish I could be a little bit more measured, but I'm like I always said, what, we live once, and also I don't like to live with regrets. So
absolutely,
like no regrets, because this is something that I want to see. Yes, you know what? I've tried it. It was a completely failure, but it's fine.
You learn from it.
I'm still standing.
Yes. And you're doing great. You're impacting lives, and that's that's an amazing thing that you were doing, impacting lives, helping women, people. You're saving families, you're saving organizations, because when they adopt the things that you were sharing in this podcast and the things you teach them, it creates a better environment and people thrive better. So this is an amazing thing you're doing. Amelie, thank you so much. It's been wonderful having you on the Risk Chance podcast.
Thank you so much to you,
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I look forward to speaking with you a little bit more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Risk Chance Podcast.